Asampa etia. Obayansa fusu wo munye wanka na asam. Ze mafutu sam kakre wa asupeme.
Of the Know Your Lungs campaign. Our theme for this program is It's Time to Stop TB in Ghana. This is an incredible TB and lung health awareness campaign to increase the knowledge of Ghanaians in TB symptoms and then lung health. So today we are obviously going to learn so much about TB, the cure, and our health when it comes to our lungs. My name is Kwesi Kwetia, your master of ceremony. Before we start our day here, I believe strongly that we have to commit our activities here into the hands of God because He's got the whole wide world in His hands. And to lead us through prayer, I'd like to call on Miss Jabaina Anama. Please let's give her a round of applause.
Our Lord and Master Jesus, thank you for today. Thank you for the gift of life. And we thank you for your mercies that you've granted unto us. We pray, asking your Spirit to come and guide us as we deliberate on our issues concerning our lungs and also tuberculosis. We pray that you touch every heart that is gathered here, that at the end of the day, it will not just be a meeting, but that's one that has changed our hearts. And we are going back into various communities and the nation to work and control TB in Ghana. Thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name we've prayed. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, it will interest you to know that we have the National TB Ambassador here in the house with us. He happens to be the king of Asin Orange traditional area. With the greatest of respect, I'd like to introduce to you Ohunabo Brim, Pra Ajinsem the Seth. Please, with a wave of hand, let's see you. All right, so he is the TB ambassador for Ghana nationally. So it's not just about what we are doing here. All right, so if you look at my back, we have our high table over here. And to grace our high table, we have a number of dignitaries. And I'd like to introduce all of them to you. All right, first on our list, we have the WHO country rep, Dr. Owen Kalua. Please, a round of applause for him. Please join me here, please. This is where your seat is supposed to be. So please, when I mention your name, please join me right here. And then we also have our TB ambassador nationally, Ehunabo Brim Nana Pra Ajinsem the Seth. Please join us here. As we continue, we have the Deputy Director General Ghana Health Service, Dr. Gloria Kwansa Asare. Chairman, Country Coordinating Mechanism of the Global Fund in Ghana, Mr. Collins Ejaku Inti. Please, a round of applause for him. We also have the Chairman of Parliamentary Select Committee of Health and Chairman of Ghana Parliamentary TB Caucus, Dr. Kwabena Chum Nyama. Please, a round of applause for him. Ladies and gentlemen, representing the Honorable Minister, we have the Director of Policy Planning, Ministry Monitoring and Evaluation, Ministry of Health, Ghana, Dr. Emmanuel Odame. Please, a round of applause for him. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, before we take off, I also like you to know that we have a chairman to, steer the affairs of our day. And he happens to be the National TB Ambassador. Well, there are several things that you and I need to know about him. And I've been shared with some information that I'm going to share with you. He happens to also be the National Sanitation Ambassador, Barrister at Law and Solicitor of the Supreme Court of Ghana. He is a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Administrators and Management Consultants, Ghana, former board chairman of Tema Development Corporation, that is TDC, former member of the Council of State, chairman of the University of Cape Coast, Sam Jonah Endowment Fund, Chairman, Cape Coast Teaching Hospital. He has also recently been awarded with a honorary doctorate degree from the Ternopil State Economic University, Ukraine, Traditional Ruler of the Year 2017. And also King of Asin Orinchi Traditional Area with Asin Kushia as its capital. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to receive our chairman for the day to share some few words with us.
I'm very grateful to have been selected to chair this very important function. It is important not just because I'm the TB ambassador, but it is important because even before we finish this function, 4 Ghanaians would have died. Every hour, 1 Ghanaian perhaps dies from tuberculosis needlessly because it is curable. And this will go on until we accept. You know, sometimes citizens are called upon to do extraordinary things for their country. And that is the theme. We are launching this Know Your Heart, Your Lung status. And it can never be successful unless all of us are prepared to go extra mile. I've been given the opportunity to go extra mile by chairing the function today. I'm also giving you the opportunity to go extra mile by supporting me to ensure the success of this meeting. Thereafter, Chairman's closing remarks, I can be provocative. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Ehunabobrim Pra Ajinsem the Seth. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, initially when I was introducing our high table personnel, I mentioned one person who wasn't then here with us, but then he's right here with us. He happens to be the chairman of Parliamentary Select Committee of Health and chairman of Ghana Parliamentary TB Caucus, Dr. Kwabena Chum Nyama. Okay, as we continue to help us with the welcome address and then purpose, I'd like to call on the ARUM Country Director, Dr. Ni Norte Hansen Norte.
I am happy to say that we are grateful that everybody has honored this invitation to be part of this August occasion to launch what is called the Know Your Lungs campaign, which we are conducting today in collaboration with the National TB Ambassador, Ehunabobrim Pra Ajinsem VI. This campaign is actually the brainchild of Ehunabobrim Pra Ajinsem. And the reason why we came up with this whole campaign was to help create the needed awareness of tuberculosis in Ghana in order to help all of us partners in the health sector to increase our country's notification of TB cases. To achieve this goal, His Majesty has recommended that we put in place a sustained awareness creation campaign to increase knowledge and reduce stigma, especially that is high among Ghanaians. We believe that in using this approach, we need to help, though most people will see and associate a lot of stigma with disease, often what people will see when somebody has TB disease is a prolonged cough. But unfortunately, all the other symptoms related to the disease, things like unexplained weight loss, drenching night sweats, loss of appetite, low-grade fever, chest pain, a general feeling of malaise, what in local parlance we call menyarenso mentiapo. Generally, that feeling of being sick, feeling sick, and yet not knowing what exactly is wrong with you. A lot of people don't see those symptoms related to the disease. Therefore, a person who has the disease ends up being weak, losing energy, and they cannot work. They go around from one pharmacy to another, over-the-counter shop to another, looking for medications to try and abate the symptoms that they are experiencing. Unfortunately, this may not solve their problem, and then ultimately they may end up in a clinic or hospital. Usually, in the health facilities, only health professionals who are really sensitive to TB will pick up such symptoms and want to test somebody for TB at the first time. In a lot of situations, the person just ends up being treated for malaria. Sorry, Kezia. Everybody just ends up being treated for malaria, and then they just spend money over and over. By the time somebody or this client deteriorates and a health worker recognizes the need to do a TB test, the Ghanaian or the person would have made a lot of investment in terms of cash spent. It is interesting that by this time, they would have spent a lot of money, even much more than they would have earned. And that is what in TB, the TB world now we're calling catastrophic costs. The high cost of seeking healthcare related to seeking treatment for the disease. And I'm happy to say that in 2018, a national survey on the cost of TB care in Ghana, the report was conducted and the report launched. And it's very surprising to know that for most people seeking TB care, by the time they are diagnosed and they go through treatment, which is usually very free and at no cost to them, they would have spent a minimum of about $455 equivalent in Ghana cedis before they are diagnosed. If you compare that with average monthly income of about $215, that's more than 2 times what most people can afford. That is really severe on the average Ghanaian. Nana Chairman, therefore, believes that it is important that we increase the knowledge of people related to TB. This is because the disease, as we know, can lead directly to death. Fortunately, TB can be diagnosed, and it is diagnosed at minimal cost to both patients and the health system. In actual fact, in Ghana, TB diagnosis is free. Nobody pays anything for TB. TB treatment is also free in Ghana, and nobody pays anything for getting TB treatment. So what do we want to do as an organization supporting this Know Your Lung campaign? Ours is to use existing resources to increase the knowledge of our people. We believe that everyone who walks into a health facility should actually be asked questions related to TB symptoms. If they walk into a pharmacy or over-the-counter medicine shop, they should also get the opportunity to be asked questions related to TB symptoms. And in so doing, if we find any symptom related to TB, we should be able to direct them to a diagnostic lab so that they get tested for tuberculosis at no cost to them. We have TB detectors who are community volunteers. Do we have any TB detectors in the house? Can I see? Just give me a wave. Thank you very much for representing. We have our well-trained TB detectors who are in the various communities, and we're going to use them to go into the nooks and crooks of our communities, to educate people in their homes, to ask them questions about TB symptoms, and to find out whether these people have noticed any symptoms related to the disease. If they have, our TB detectors are well trained to teach these people in the communities to produce sputum. And this sputum will be taken to a diagnostic lab and tested. And the result would actually be notified to the person. So that even though they may be at home, they will still have access to the health system to be diagnosed with tuberculosis. Is the media represented here? Can I see by show of hands the media? Thank you very much for gracing our occasion we also want to take advantage of the media. We know that the media is the fourth estate in Ghana, and we want to partner with them to broadcast and to share TB information around the country. In this era of social media, boom, we would also take advantage of social media to make sure that there's a lot of awareness creation, especially amongst the young people in this country. So what is our message? Our campaign message is very simple. It is focused, and we believe it is strong and versatile. All we want to say from now on is simply, it's time. Can you say that with me? It's time. Can we say that together? It's time. We believe that it's time for all Ghanaians to know about TB. We believe that it's time for all Ghanaians to know about their TB status, in addition to knowing about their lung health. We believe that it's time for Ghanaians to be able to walk into any health facility and laboratories to ask that, I want a TB test done for me. We believe that anybody who has TB in Ghana should be diagnosed very early so that they can be enrolled on treatment very early in order to avoid them wasting a lot of money going around seeking care. We also believe that it's time to encourage people who go on TB treatment to stay on treatment, because there may be all other supporting things, but we know that TB treatment works. And finally, we also believe that it is time for every Ghanaian to embrace somebody who has TB and support them to go through treatment. Therefore, this morning, we have called all of us. We cannot get the whole Ghana into this room, but everyone here is an ambassador, is an agent for us to go out into the community and tell Ghana that it's time for everybody to know their TB status and to join us fight and end TB in Ghana. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a number of organizations here that are with us, and I'd like to acknowledge their presence. Please, when I mention the name of your organization, please, a wave of hand. We have the WHO. Please, do we have them here? Okay. Please, let's give them a round of applause. USAID, are they also here? USAID, please, are they here? Okay, let's move on to GHS. Okay. GAC, are they also in the house? CCM. Webcast. TV Voice. Okay, far off there. We have Stop TV, that is Geneva. Also, are they also in the house? Stop TB, they're coming from Geneva. Okay, WAF. Okay, here they are. Please, a round of applause for them. Coalition of NGOs in Malaria. Are they in the house? Stop TB Partnership Ghana. All right, thank you all very much. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, to give us an overview of TB control in Ghana, I'd like to call on the National Tuberculosis Control Program Manager, Dr. Frank Bonsu.
I'm glad that the Aurum Institute is leading a campaign, a communication strategy that is Know Your Lungs. It's extremely helpful. But what I want to emphasize is that it's a communication strategy. The communication strategy is indeed complementary to the national strategy. I want to once again say that from the Demographic Health Survey, almost 99% of Ghanaians know about TB. So knowledge about TB is there already. So how do we now modify our communication strategy to make the maximum impact? As a national program, or for that matter, the Ghana Health Service has put in some interventions. The intervention key is case detection and diagnosis. One of the best case detection and infrastructure to detect. In Africa, we also have all the latest, newer medicines to treat TB in this country. So, where is the challenge? The challenge is to create demand and utilization of these equipment and medicines in the country. That is where the gap is. So the communication strategy should be looking at creating uptake and use of the services. We have gene experts, we have digital x-rays all over the country, we have all the medicines, but we are not creating the enabling environment for people to come and take up the services. And so this is an opportunity. Having said that, it is because there is no demand and there's no uptake of the services. That is why we are having one of the challenges that we do have, the low TB case detection in this country. And so, in order to do this, it's clearly spelled in the national strategy that we forge partnership with everybody to enable us overcome this obstacle. And Your Majesty, we are already forging partnership with the National Health Insurance Authority to remove financial barriers for uptake of TB services. We have been working so hard to get the National Health Insurance Authority to do that, and they are happily working with us to do that. We also have Oreo as a partner who are investing in diagnostic equipment in this country, digital x-ray, and they are providing all the necessary resources. We have NGOs working at the level of the household community, educating and trying their best to create demand for the use of the services. And now come on board another significant partner, which is Aurum Institute. And for Aurum, their strategy is to lead a communication strategy, and I must add, to create demand and use for our services. We are grateful for Aurum to come up with this kind of strategy, but they must be mindful of the socio-cultural barriers that we face, including stigma, that militate against uptake and utilization of our services. So, even though one of their aim is to increase knowledge, they must come out with a strategy that will lead to utilization of the services and uptake of the services. Because the interventions are in place, the human resource has been developed, the equipment are in place. We need, and we are grateful that Aurum Institute has come on board. On this note, I would like to say thank you very much for listening to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of some personalities that are also here with us. Some of them just joined us. We have the Program Manager, National Malaria Control Program, Dr. Kezia Mam. Regional Director of Health Services, Greater Accra Region, Dr. Charity Sapon. Manager, Universal Delft, Dr. Maurice Vahengen. I hope I mentioned the name right. All right, thank you. Associate Director of Program, CDC Ghana, Silas Quay. Acting Programs Manager, National AIDS Control Program, Dr. Akosua Badu. Deputy CEO Operations, NHIA, Dr. Baba Jani Selby. President of Society of Private Medical and Dental Practitioners in Ghana, Dr. Isaac Morrison. Thank you all very much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on to our fraternal messages, and we have a number of organizations here that are going to do that with us. I'd like to start with WHO. WHO is going to start our messages. I'm sure that we have a rep here. Please, a round of applause.
We as WHO, we are pleased to be here, to be part of this historic event, and make some remarks as we launch this important initiative. And for these remarks, I have 3 main points that I wish to raise. And the first point is that TB, despite the effort we have done, despite the good results we have obtained in many fronts in addressing it, it continues to be a global public health problem. We know that in 2017, over 10 million people developed TB globally. We also know that TB is ranked number 7 on the causes of death globally. But for a single agent, it is number 1 single agent that is leading in terms of causes of death. We know also that TB has, the TB germ has partnered with HIV to cause a lot of havoc and a lot of disease and death in our populations. So we know the problem that is there, the magnitude of the problem we have to deal with. And the second point I want to raise is that TB is curable. Despite all the challenges and issues, it is a curable disease. We have medicines that can effectively treat and cure TB. And many more are being developed. And I also, as the program manager says, and those medicines are available in Ghana here. We have the technologies to detect TB and accurately diagnose it. Yet, a large number of people who have TB do not know that they have it and do not assess the necessary treatment that is available. And even for people who have been diagnosed to have TB, not all have access to the treatment they need. There is still, Nana Chair, a huge gap on enrollment into treatment. So we should go beyond finding and identifying the TB cases, but make sure we enroll them into treatment as soon as possible. And I'm sure we all know the saying that TB anywhere is TB everywhere. So if we fail to find all the people with TB and put them on treatment and ensure they hire and complete their treatment, we will not win the fight against TB. And we will not attain the SDG 3 target of ending TB as a public health problem by 2030 that we have all committed to. However, as for me, I am optimistic that we can do it. So what is needed for us to be able to do this? And this brings me to the third point that I wish to raise. And this is that we need partnerships, we need collaboration, and we need engagement and commitment. That each stakeholder, government, private sector, NGO, civil society, including communities, families, and even people living with TB, we all have our own roles that we must play. The government, for example, should ensure that appropriate medicines and diagnostic supplies are available and accessible by the people that need them. That people are not impoverished in accessing these services. That the health workers are trained to deliver the services and appropriate systems for support and service delivery are available. The general public should seek and use the services to ensure that TB is detected early and treatment initiated early. Communities and families should work to ensure that those on TB medication adhere to treatment and complete their treatment and provide the necessary support to people living with TB. And this is particularly important in order to minimize the emergence of drug-resistant forms of TB, which are so difficult to manage and treat, which will make our work towards ending TB even harder. Mr. Chair, or Nana Chair. With gaps in access to diagnosis, treatment, and poor monitoring practices, drug-resistant TB is now becoming a public health crisis. And unfortunately, we in Ghana too have that problem, including having the problem of extensively resistant TB, which we have to address and address urgently. I entreat all stakeholders to work together to ensure that we can find and treat all cases of TB so that together we can overcome this dreadful disease. Particularly in Nana Chair, I would like to call for strong civil society and private sector involvement in finding the 30,000 TB cases that are missed annually in Ghana. And let's work together to find these cases, and let's work together to ensure that they are on treatment and that they do complete their treatment and adhere to it so that we can win the fight against TB. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, awareness campaigns such as the Know Your Lungs campaign are very useful in making sure that we are all aware, we are informed and educated, and above all, that we adopt positive behaviors and attitudes about TB so that we can do what needs to be done, that we can be advocates for ending TB, that we can ourselves remove the barriers of stigma against people living with TB. And indeed, if we work together in partnership, I'm very optimistic that we can defeat TB and we can advance towards ending TB as a public health problem by 2030. Mr. Chair, Nana Chair, let me end now, since we're supposed to have short fraternal messages, by congratulating the Aram Institute Ghana and all supporting partners for this great initiative, and to affirm WHO's commitment to collaborate with them, collaborate with government, and with all stakeholders on our journey that we must move together towards ending TB by 2030. Let's make sure that we in Ghana do achieve that target that we have committed to. I'm sure we can, working together. I thank you.
We are very happy that everyone sees health as very important, and especially TB at this juncture. You are all aware that we are responsible for the health, providing health services and prudently managing resources. Resources are never enough, whether it's human, material, or money. So it's good to partner, and when we find healthy partnerships, we are really encouraged, and we are committed to do our part and to engage and partner with everybody towards the ending or elimination of TB in Ghana. The WHO representative spoke about the TB partnering with HIV. That is a very bad partnership to send people to the grave. But Ghana Health Service has stood up to the task, and we have very strong programs. We are working harder to integrate all these programs at all levels to make sure that when people come to our health services, they get a one-stop shop and are able to get everything. We are happy also that National Health Insurance Authority is working with us to remove barriers. The rest is for all of us to ensure that as individuals on our own and in wherever we find ourselves, to remove stigma from TB, HIV, and other forms of stigma, to enable people to access services. We have been told by the program manager that we've done a lot. We had a very strong strategic plan, and we have brought everything that we need to be able to address the issue of TB and accompanying conditions. when these are there and they are not used, it becomes a waste of resources. So we are very grateful to our champion and our ambassador for coming up with this Know Your Lungs campaign. Ghana Health Service is committed, and we can be called at any time to support technically any group or anyone who wants to assist. Let's all come together. Yes, please clap for us. Yes. When you call on us, we answer, because we are children of God. When we call on God, He answers, and that is our work to do. So thank you very much. We are very much encouraged. We congratulate everybody. I add my voice to thanking all the international organizations, the local organizations and individuals and champions who have been championing this cause and other causes in health to make Ghana a place to be very happy to live in. We want to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and develop well as a nation. So it is time to know your lungs. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
This event is important to the CCM because, as most of you are aware, the CCM has been at the forefront of mobilizing funds to fight TB, HIV, and malaria in this country since 2002. And in that respect, the CCM has mobilized close to $1 billion for Ghana to fight TB, HIV, and malaria. And for 2015 to 2017, from January 2015 to December 2017, the CCM mobilized almost $250 million from Global Fund to fight TB, HIV, and malaria. This is why anything or any issue related to TB, malaria, and HIV is of considerable interest to the country coordinating mechanism. Dr. Chairman, last week, the country team of the Global Fund, based in Geneva, was in Ghana. We had a meeting with them at which some of the program staff and other program managers were there. At that meeting, we carried out a thorough evaluation of the programs that we've done over the past 1 year. And whilst we all realize that Ghana continues to make significant strides in the fight against malaria, the same cannot be said for TB and HIV. I am happy that the program manager and the WHO country director has spoken about some strategies that we need to adopt to be able to improve our performance in TB. Because it is not, to us, it is not an issue of funds. It is not an issue of money. Why am I saying this? For 2015 to 2017, TB program there was a commitment of close to $25 million for the 3-year period. Out of this, only $20.5 million was disbursed. So what it means is that out of the 25 million that Global Fund gave to us, committed to us for TB, about $4.2 million was left undisbursed at the end of December 2017. And that is not to mention the in-country balances that we had in the country. So it is purely not an issue of funds. And we have all the technologies, the latest technology, We've moved from symptomatic detection through the use of microscopy, and now we have deployed gene experts to almost all the facilities that we are operating. And yet, we are not finding the missing cases, to the extent that Ghana is among the countries that are not performing when it comes to finding the missing cases. It is a fact. And so, it must be the collective responsibility of all of us to devise ways and means, new strategies, innovative strategies of finding the cases, because the cases are in the communities. What do we do to find the cases? And it is against this background that we are interested in Orium Institute coming up, together with its partners, coming up with this strategy. It is important that we embrace the private sector and the civil society in the implementation of these programs. Malaria continues to perform because we have, for instance, apart from the strength of the program itself, we have Anglo Gold Ashanti Malaria Agamal taking up the indoor residual spraying in the northern regions. WAPCAS, a civil society organization, came on board the HIV program, the implementation. And for the first 6 months, WAPCAS, the local civil society organization, was rated A1. So I think that increasingly, civil society and the private sector should be looked at very well in terms of the way they can support the implementation. We at the CCM will continue to monitor the implementation of this program that the Orium Institute and its partners have launched, because hopefully that could be a game changer and could have the potential of influencing the way we make our allocations in the very near future. Nana Chairman, with these few remarks, let me wish you a very, very successful launch. And as I've indicated, the CCM will continue to keep an eye on this so that at the end of the day, we can factor the results and the impact that it will make in our future Global Fund allocation. Thank you, Nana Chairman.
I would like to say I'm very happy to be here on behalf of the Ghana TB Caucus in Parliament. We salute Orium for organizing this program. And looking at the challenges TB is facing in Ghana generally, we think Orium is well placed and positioned to assist the country in surmounting the problems we are facing. We've just been told that our problem is not about funding, which is typically one of the major challenges facing the health sector in Ghana. So it means Parliament doesn't have a lot of work to do because funding is not the problem. We've also been told that equipment for diagnosing TB, i.e. digital X-ray machines, gene expert machines, are also not a problem. We've been told that the human personnel, that is educated and dedicated staff to handle TB cases, is also not a problem. We've been told that we have the best form of medication which is found anywhere in the world to treat TB cases in the country. So how come we are not detecting the TB cases that we need to detect? I think one of our biggest challenges is stigma. And I believe Orium is well positioned to assist us in demystifying TB in the country. It is high time TB is made a routine condition in our health facilities so that as people troop in to health facilities to have routine medical checkups, people going to facilities to check their sputum or to have x-rays to see whether they have TB should also be a routine activity in the country. I think if you are able to do this, we'll be able to up our game in detecting more cases. Mind you, the fact that the cases are hiding in the communities, all of us are at risk. Because if you look at how we engage each other in Ghana, our cultural upbringing, we are used to, bonding, meeting each other, greeting each other, attending funerals, social gatherings. So the moment people begin to hide these cases in the communities, you are at risk. I will also be at risk. As for MPs, I don't even want to go there because we definitely engage people every day. So I think all of us should be part of this campaign in educating our community about TB so that we will be able to up our game. The beauty of the situation is that anybody who is diagnosed, the medications are there for effective treatment, and also these treatments are all free. So there's no point leaving somebody out. The person will keep this bacteria and then they will start spreading to so many people, and before you realize, our cases will rise. I believe all of us should assist. So I think, Orum, the sky should be your limit. Let us not be civil society organizations who will always be rushing to the media to create a lot of media attention. Meanwhile, real work will be on the ground. There's a lot of work to be done. Our case detection rate is nothing to write home about. And I believe we must start to rewrite this narrative so that in not distant future, Ghana will now be termed as one of the high-performing countries as far as case detection is concerned. Since as parliamentarians we represent the people, I think Parliament will partner Orum in making this a reality. We would like to first of all thank Orum for assisting Parliament in inaugurating our TB caucus. Last year, August, Orum assisted Parliament to inaugurate our TB caucus, and we have a lot of work to do. This year is a year of action for the caucus, and we will be disturbing you almost every day to ensure that we can reach out to as many people as possible in the country to make sure our case detection rates will become a very, a refreshing information to see around. I remember I attended the Global TB Caucus conference, and Ghana was mentioned as one of the countries which is not performing as far as case detection is concerned. I wasn't happy at all. And I think I wouldn't want to attend another conference and Ghana will be described in that regard anymore. So let us do a lot of work in the year. Parliament is ready to assist you, and I believe the other partners will also assist all of us so that at the end of the day, we can all have a successful intervention. On that note, I thank you for the opportunity. Thank you very much.
And to help us with the keynote address and then the launch, the Director for Policy, Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, Ministry of Health Ghana, Dr. Emmanuel Odame. Please, let's give him a round of applause.
It is time. It is an honor to be part of this landmark event which you have conceived and you are championing to lead in to make sure it achieves the desired results. As you are alluded to, Ghana Minister of Health, the National TB Ambassador, and a few of our dignitaries here participated last year in the level meeting on tuberculosis as part of the UN General Assembly. This meeting is also coming at a very important time as part of the implementation of our Sustainable Development Goals. The interesting thing about Sustainable Development Goals, like we always caption it, the 3 I's: it's visible, it's interlinked, and it's inextricable. What does it really mean? In healthcare, all the main things we do are all attached in one. So we can't do TB and leave HIV or leave malaria out. It all has to be done in a way that the three all have a way to be brought together. What makes TB more interesting is the fact that TB has been reversed for thousands of years. In fact, research is even telling that it dates back from the Neolithic era about 9,000 years ago. So really, dealing with TB means it's not so simplistic as we might think. Because if something has been with mankind for the last 9,000 years, then it's really an issue to look at in a very cognitive way. The Ministry of Health personally is working with a lot of development partners, the Ghana Health Service, National Health Insurance Authority, and a few other partners to bring this under control. I want to diverge a bit to say that let's also look at the personal part of tuberculosis. And yeah, I want to bring a personal story of a young girl called Nanama, who had an extrapulmonary TB case for the last 6 months, went to our 5 health facilities, was undiagnosed, was a medical student in China, had to come back home, spent about 5 months, and finally got diagnosed. So it is real, especially when it comes to extrapulmonary TB cases. How do we get it diagnosed? This lady had to stop her medical education and spent about 5 months just trying to find an answer to what was disturbing her. And this was an extrapulmonary TB case involving the lymph node. So really, let's add that personal touch to it and say that young girl, Nanama, who could be your sister or your daughter, either you are infected or you are affected. How do we even make sure that this doesn't happen to anybody and we are able to catch those missing cases? The interesting thing about the young girl called Nanama was that Nanama was living in East Legon and she had to work for 5 months undiagnosed. So what happens to that young girl that lives across the Volta Lake on those island communities in Yeji? A few other island communities all scattered across the country. It is real. And how do we find those cases? Having said this, I want to recount a bit of the data that has been aptly mentioned. And like the chairman rightly said, every hour we have one patient dying. And Ghana having about 44,000 new cases of TB each year, in 800 of them being drug resistant. The most interesting thing is that 30,000 missed cases we do every year. For us, that's the most interesting part. How do we avoid these missing cases? 30,000. That's a loss of missing cases. How do we ensure that these missing cases become something of the past, and how do we nip it in the bud? And this is where we happily agree that the new technology that have been deployed, the gene experts for frontline care and make sure you don't miss the cases. But beyond that, how do we also demystify tuberculosis and do something a bit innovatively? And that's why the theme of this conference becomes important. Know your lungs. And I personally love what was said. This is a campaign to drastically increase awareness of TB in Ghana towards identifying the 30,000 missing cases. What do we do differently? And I love the way the Orum Institute are used, innovation. We've had innovation for a few partners here. How do we make the innovation real? I think some nice language I hear in all conferences from New York to Abidjan and innovation, and it sounds sweet and a bit romantic, but really, how do we move that rhetoric into reality? How do we ensure that TB cases have been very hospital-based? We move into the communities and let the community own TB care. And that's why I think Chairman will be very key. How do we get the population? Maybe we may even get to a extent where ordinary people in the community can even hold these gene expert machines and diagnose. Move into homes as they do the festivals in the villages. How do we make sure that TB is part of the teams the chiefs will be championing? So I think this is where the real innovation comes in. How do we ensure the community systems we have in our marketplaces, the market queens, our chieftaincy institutions, the real structures we have in Accra, our Wulumes and all that, become part of this campaign and move it into the point where they can talk about it and speak about it. And I think in our case, that is what the real innovation might really mean. Moving TB from the hospital, moving TB from healthcare workers, and even demystifying the healthcare worker to the extent that everybody in our community can be a healthcare worker to help in this campaign. And I think it's something the ministry really want to push, that we look at that a bit more closely and help see how we can demystify. Having said this, we want to say that SDG Goal 17 is also clear about partnerships. And I think the WHO country rep really stated the issue about partnership, collaborations, and how do we make it real. And I think this very meeting, the partnership between the Ghana Health Service, Orum Institute, is about the step in the right direction to make sure that SDG Goal 17 becomes real. And also Goal 16, talking about institutions. How do we strengthen our existing institutions, strengthen our community structures to ensure that we're able to put these things on board. Like was aptly stated, they've been discussing with the National Health Insurance based on the patient cost survey. But I want to quickly say that it's still something in motion. There's currently work on the actuarial study to look at the comprehensive benefit package, and this is something which is being worked on as we speak now. The Ministry of Health basically recognizes the role of communication and awareness creation in our public health interventions such as TB control, and support this move to create a sustained intervention in support of TB control activities in Ghana. This awareness creation drive should help us increase the level of knowledge that our people have on the disease, and to avail ourselves to take advantage of all that the government is doing to reduce this burden. Nana Chair, last year we made a strong case in increasing TB funding for the program, and it's something that we are still continuing. The ministry support the call of this campaign to take action to ending TB epidemic in Ghana, and we lend our full support to this campaign to openly screen people in our communities for symptoms and the telltale signs of TB. And basically we want to say that TB is something not just for health workers, a disease condition for the whole country, and that's why we are very happy with the way the table is even formed today. We have the NAT chairman, who is a traditional leader, we have the chairman of the Parliamentary Committee of Health, bringing the political leadership on board, the CCM chair, the Deputy DG Ghana Health Service, the WHO country rep, and the fact that disease conditions are real and they have a telltale effect on countries. And so we all see it as that need, we'll never have a solution to it. Just to stay clear that in early hundreds when yellow fever epidemic broke out in the US, and the capital was moved from Pennsylvania to New York. So really, disease outbreaks of any form have real and telling effects on countries, and we should see it as such, in addition to the media group who sit across the table here and moving it forward. We also think it's time to create an enabling environment for people to feel free to ask for TB tests wherever they go. It's time to show more responsibility with regards to TB and support people with the disease. We want to say that there are two things here. Either you are infected or you are affected. If she has it, you are affected. If you have it, you are infected. So in any way you see it, it's still a concern to you. It's time for people with TB-related symptoms to have access to the diagnosis services they need. It's time to counsel people diagnosed with TB very well and to start the treatment the same day. And it's time to show more support and care for TB treatment wherever we find it. It's really time to end TB. And we really want to move for how do we decentralize this care and support across the length and breadth of this country. Having said it, we think it should be, this occasion we are having today should not be a moment. This occasion should be a movement. How do we get a global effort, a global movement, a national movement of all the actors sitting around this table, so we move into the field with the same sort of enthusiasm in making this movement into a clear movement starting from today. We need agency, we need purpose, and above all, we need leadership. The Ministry of Health is committed to providing the necessary leadership we need to ensuring that this growing movement that will start from today becomes a reality. Having said this, we want to say this program, Know Your Lungs campaign, is duly launched. Thank you. So it's launched with this logo we have on the screen. I'm sure you can all really see it.
This is the first time I have been to a meeting such as this, and I have heard that we have human resources, we have equipment, and we have no problem with funds. This is the first time I've ever heard this. And I hope that the statement is accurate. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, when the MC spoke about innovation, when Dr. Damis spoke about innovation, I was thinking of how to contribute towards defining new method of doing things. Then all of a sudden it occurred to me that there are pastors who are bankers, economists, doctors. So why not turn our effort towards religion, which seems to have entrapped us so well that there will be captive audience? I think that we should approach every community first by going to see the pastors and getting them to realize that it is part of Christianity to cure the disease. So that every Sunday, there's no reason why we shouldn't do testing in churches, in communities every Sunday. Those who go on Saturdays, every Saturday. And when they ask them about how we're going to do about this, they shall all reply, God is good. Thank you.
Nana Chair, representatives from the Ministry of Health, the Ghana Health Service, all program managers here present, all partners, I, on behalf of the Orium Institute and the TB Team Ghana, would want to extend a deep sense of appreciation to you all for joining us for this important program. Since funding is not a problem, and we have all taken the battle to fight TB, I would want to entreat all of us to join hands with the National TB Control Program and the Orium Institute and all partners to fight TB and to end TB in our world. Yes, it is time to end TB, and we have to do it now. Thanks for coming. It's been great having you, and we hope to see you next time to boast of our achievements. Thank you very much.
Asampaetia Obayansa Fusu Obunia Wankana Sam Zema Futu Sam Kakre wa Supeme